Hi ladies and gentlemen, my name is SueSee and I am presenting on behalf of myself and Associate Professor Shane Pill from Flinders University in Adelaide, and I am from the University of Southern Queensland in Brisbane. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge and honour, or both of us would, the traditional owners of the lands and waterways on which we speak from today. So what are we suggesting today? We are suggesting that we're going to use the spectrum of teaching styles to identify the 6-step TGfU model as a cluster of styles rather than just a style. How are we going to do this? I'm going to have to do a pretty short and fast spectrum 101, so we're hopefully all on the same page. Then I'm going to have a quick look at the 6-step TGfU model, which I'm presuming most of us are pretty familiar with, and use the spectrum to identify the teaching styles that could be used to meet objectives. Short spectrum 101 history. If I don't cover everything, please maybe pause this presentation and go and have a read of the Spectrum of Teaching Styles website, heaps of good publications. 1966, Mosston explains the spectrum of teaching styles based on the premise that teaching is a chain of decision-making, deliberate decision-making. When you use this definition and you look at who is making the decisions, where they're made and what they're being made about in these three places, which are the pre-impact set, decisions which basically define the intent or the objective of the learning experience, the impact set, the face-to-face interaction between the teacher and the students, and the post-impact, which has to do with usually feedback about the performance during the impact set and looking at the congruence. When you look at those decisions, who's making them, where they're being made, and about what, you get these 11 teaching styles. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, if you use any other definition of teaching, you're not going to get these same type styles. You only get these 11 styles when you use this to define it. These 11 styles are then grouped into what's known as the reproduction cluster, styles A to E. The one that most people will be familiar with in here is style B, the practice style. Research has shown the most used teaching style by teachers. And the production cluster, F to K, because they ask the student to produce knowledge which is new to them through the process of creativity or discovery. As you move along the spectrum, A to K, teaching decision-making is at the maximum with A and starts to become less as you go. And of course, student decision-making is minimum A, maximum in K. The spectrum has what's known as a non-versus perspective, which means no one style is better than another. So we will not be arguing that one teaching style is better than another. They are all valued for their utility in terms of what they can achieve. Just to give a little bit more information about the clusters from the production cluster style, because I'm going to speak about some of these a little bit more today. Guided discovery, many of us are aware of that. Many of us may have different definitions, but very broadly, teacher asks a student a sequence of questions to lead to one correct answer. Convergent discovery, teacher sets a problem usually, which requires again more than one step to converge on one correct answer. If you want to use it to discover two or more, this is not style for it. Divergent discovery is, same thing, teacher sets a problem or task, asks a student to discover or create two or more solutions to the problem, etc. The next three styles, I'll just say again a bit of a disclaimer, they are not generally used in classrooms, but they are still there. Learner designed individual program, teacher sets the topic, student decides the content, the learning experience is the assessment. Learner initiated, student selects the topic, student creates the learning experience, assessment, etc. And finally, self-teaching style K, no teacher, student decides the whole bit. Now, if you ask me really quickly, why are these not generally in the classroom? Primarily a couple of reasons, but the number one reason I would argue is because of assessment. Funnily enough, schools have to assess. Finally, mobility ability. Now, the spectrum does not say that you're a great teacher, etc., just because you know 11 teaching styles or can even use 11 teaching styles. It's more about you knowing how to do them and more particular when to do them to meet an objective. To use an analogy, if I told you that I had a toolbox and I could name the tools and I could use all the tools, but you suddenly saw me get out a hammer to try and saw wood, you'd go, no, that's not right. That's not what we use this thing for. So the same thing with the teaching style. All right, the TGfU 6-step model. Really quickly, learner at the center. At the top, the game. Number 2, game appreciation. 3, tactical awareness. 4, the what to do and the how to. 5, skill execution. 6, performance. We're going to use a learning episode or a game known as Super 2s from a Shane Pill publication. Super game that. But just to set it up for you, have a look at the diagram. As I explained, you should work it out. Students have some striking and fielding skills, we're going to argue. Bowlers will bowl 6 balls each. Batters are going to bat in pairs. Each individual will face 24 balls, funnily enough, 48 per pair, and 4 pairs, 8 students in total. Let's presume the students have limited game knowledge and tactical awareness. The stars here are the fielders and bowler. What looks like the number 11s at each end are wickets. And of course, the 2 circles are the batters, Shane and myself. I'll probably score more runs than Shane, of course. Okay, some suggested questions to ask from from Shane Pill. As we play the game, get students to start thinking about when do you try and hit the ball on the ground? When do you try and hit it in the air? How do you place the ball to score a run? Steps 1, the game, and 2, game appreciation. All right, so the teacher will explain the game, the rules, and how to play according to Bunker and Thorpe. Why would they do this? Because they're hoping the student will reproduce the rules or play by the rules. Secondly, there's been no instructions on really how to play any skills or move. So we are going to presume that the student is going to reproduce known ways of throwing, striking, hitting, catching, running, etc. This would be style B, we would argue, if this happened. However, let's say as well, devil's advocate, but I created as the coach some new rules. New rules does not necessarily guarantee that new movement must happen in saying that. Alternatively, or in another way though, let's imagine we've got a real novice participant in this class. This is a fantastic opportunity for guided discovery, to ask students questions to lead them to discovering something. But again, we put in the disclaimer. If you are asking questions, open-ended questions to students who already know how to perform skills a certain way, then these are most likely recall questions and therefore practice style. Steps 3 and 4, tactical awareness and the how and when. Let's say you've got a student who can hit the ball but is frequently getting caught. This is a good opportunity to teach tactical awareness and guide them to understand the advantage over their opponent. In particular, when do you try and hit the ball along the ground in cricket? So you could ask this question to the students and they could try and solve this problem on their own and hopefully conclude at some point, because there is only really one correct answer here, and that is to discover the correct predetermined response, that they would discover that I'm going to hit it on the ground when there is someone or a fielder in front of me. The how and the when. So the student attempts to discover the principle, ball on the ground, less chance getting out. They want to exploit this rule and they desire to implement the tactic, which is step 4, the how to. So Bunker and Thorpe said tactical awareness allows the learner to recognize the cue, fielder in front of me, very close, and then the how to do it in the circumstance. Cut myself off. Let's chuck a hypothetical in there though. The student has not considered the how to of hitting the ball on the ground. Again, great opportunity for guided discovery. Teacher might ask a series of questions to help them discover that the angle of the bat face determines the trajectory of the ball. Or you could go for, again, a bit of a convergent discovery, one answer. So you ask the student, you're going to play a game with a partner. Player A is going to toss a half volley to you, and I'm going to get you to try and hit the ball over a marker 10 meters away. Then game number 2, same marker stays there, but I want you to hit the ball on the ground before the marker. Then you can ask the student to ask the question before, what did you do differently to get the ball to go over the marker? What did you do to get the ball on the ground before the marker? Step 5, skill execution. Skill execution obviously needs to be done in the context of a game, and so that you understand or help the student understand the purpose for practice of either a technical skill or a strategic maneuver. So we're going to use soccer here as an example. And let's say that a student is unable to bend the ball with accuracy, nor do they know when to do it. From a cognitive perspective, we're arguing that the student needs to learn the skill of pattern recognition so they're able to identify really quickly and correctly when they need to do this. Pattern recognition. We're also arguing it can only be learnt in a game or in a context of a modified game when the need for the skill arises. Gameplay provides these environments so that the student can identify the cue or pattern and then has to recall the skill, the how-to, at the correct time. Stage 5 presents the environment that might seem to necessitate the use of a cluster of styles, such as divergent, discovery, as well as practice. So for example, blue line down the middle of the page, imagine that's a goal. The blue circle in front is the goalkeeper. The other blue smiley face just out is the defender. You might then say to the student, all right, in this situation, I want you to create as many ways as possible to score. Let's say the student came up with these. Yellow, I'm just going to drill it through the defender. Blue, I'm going to go to my left as I face the goal. Or green, I'm going to try and bend it around there. So the student comes up with these threes. The teacher says, great job. After that, then you can actually use a convergent discovery episode. Convergent, come back to 1. What's the most effective strategy? Let's say the student works out that it is actually bending the ball if they could do it. You then ask the student, okay, well, what do you need to practice then to be able to do this? They hopefully identify they need to work on bending the ball with accuracy and consistency. This then creates an opportunity for style B. But we would argue style B in a game type situation, so that they learn, 1, to bend the ball with accuracy, but 2, they also learn to recognize the cue. That is, open goal on their right, defenders in front, and they need to bend the ball. So it's not just the skill, but it's the pattern recognition which provides this priming mechanism to execute the desired behavior. Finally, step 6 is about performance. Hopper and Cruselbrink say it's the performance of the skill or strategy, and where what is learned, is measured against criteria independent of the learner. The criteria, we'll argue, is the appropriateness of the response and the efficiency of the technique. We're arguing here, reference to the word learned from a cognitive perspective implies memory of a gain movement ability. Therefore, this actually could be practice style B. You're implementing as a player what you know and getting marked, graded, whatever you want to say. Recalling things you learnt in stages 4 and 5. However, just one more example, if you actually gave a criteria sheet to a student and said, hey, assess Brendan on doing this, this becomes reciprocal style. And if you actually ask me to assess myself after it, it becomes self-check. So in conclusion, we're arguing TGfU is not only guided discovery, it's far too complex to say it's just one style. And to use the TGfU 6-step model, it's actually a cluster of teaching styles which may or may not include guided discovery. Thank you so much.